Your transparency isn't the virtue you think it is. It's a leak that is slowly killing the respect people have for you. Every time you explain yourself to someone who didn't even ask, or let your voice crack with the heat of frustration, you are surrendering your power on a silver platter. You know that heavy, cold dread in your chest after saying too much, don't you? That mental hangover of regret that haunts you when the lights go out. But what if I told you that this exhaustion isn't caused by the world, but by a specific weight you've been trained to carry, a weight that doesn't even belong to you? It's time to stop the bleeding. Today I'm sharing an ancient secret from a master's foundry, the ritual of the shallow basin of oil. It is a forgotten mental technique that turns your silence into armor. However, before you can use this armor, you must understand the terrifying reason why your honesty has actually become a cage. A secret about your own psyche that we will uncover in just a moment. Adrian felt like a man walking through a storm with no skin to protect his vitals. Every time he opened his mouth, he felt a little bit more of his soul leaking out. He spent years believing that being transparent was a virtue, a way to build trust. But lately, that transparency had turned into a terrifying vulnerability that left him raw. He was beginning to realize that when you show everything, you eventually have nothing left. It's a peculiar kind of exhaustion when your very presence feels like a drain. You walk into a meeting with a brilliant idea, only to see it snatched away by others. Because you lack the mystery to guard it, someone else wore your crown today. This happens because you are carrying the heavy stones of other people's opinions, trying to please them with your words, while your own dignity is being crushed under the weight. Adrian was a human sponge, soaking up every stray insult and every bit of modern static. If someone looked at him the wrong way, he'd carry that weight for days. He didn't just experience stress, he invited it to pull up a chair and stay for dinner. But there is a hidden mechanism, a psychological trigger, that Adrian was about to discover, which explains why we feel forced to leak our power to people who don't deserve it. You'll see exactly what this trigger is when Adrian enters the foundry, and it's likely the same reason you can't say no without feeling guilty. Adrian pushed through the heavy iron doors of an old foundry, the air thick with sulfur and sweat. He started talking immediately, pouring out his grievances like a messy flood, desperate for the master to validate his pain. But Master Kalen ignored him, his hammer strikes drowning out Adrian's frantic words. We often think that by speaking, we are building a bridge to others, don't we? In reality, Adrian was only building a wall of noise to keep his own rising fear at bay. Then came the moment that changed everything. Kalen stopped, pressed a finger to his lips, and commanded Adrian to sit on a wooden stool in the very center of the roaring furnace. The challenge? Sit until dawn. No speaking, no reacting to the heat, no shifting. This was the statue of the mind ritual. You see, every time you react to discomfort, you are telling the world that your environment controls you, that you are still carrying the weight of stones you should have dropped long ago. As the sparks flew like angry hornets, Adrian's urge to complain became a physical ache. But he was about to learn that silence isn't just the absence of noise. It is a specialized tool for emotional survival. However, the most difficult part of the test wasn't the heat or the silence. It was a physical object Kalen was about to place in his hands, one that would make it impossible for Adrian to hide his internal chaos any longer. Kalen reached into the shadows and brought forth a shallow basin of dark clay, filled to the brim with golden viscous oil. He placed it into Adrian's trembling hands. "This," Kalen whispered, "is the reservoir of your dignity, the liquid gold of your inner peace." As the furnace roared with hungry intensity, the real test began. Kalen started the violent work of casting a great bronze bell, crashing metal into the crucible and striking the hammer with thunderous echoes. Sparks rained down like dying stars, biting into Adrian's skin. The instinct was overwhelming. He desperately needed to wipe the sweat from his eyes or groan in pain. But he realized that the moment his fingers shifted, the oil would ripple. Each ripple was a confession of weakness, a sign that he was still picking up the stones of his environment. He watched the surface of the oil with an intensity that made the rest of the world blur. He understood now. Your respect is not something others give you. It is the boundary you keep between your soul and the chaos of the world. When the master dropped a heavy iron rod to startle him, the oil sloshed perilously close to the edge. Adrian saw the truth. When you react to the noise, you are literally spilling your power onto the floor. He was finally learning the grip of the void, the art of holding on to nothing so that nothing can hold you. But just as he felt his spirit was about to break, he noticed something in the reflection of the oil that changed his entire perception of reality. Something you must see to understand why some people always seem to stay calm while you are drowning in stress. As the heat peaked, Adrian's resistance finally collapsed, and a strange thing happened. The oil went still. He realized he had been fighting the heat like it was an enemy, tensing his muscles against the inevitable. But by letting go of the need to be a certain way, he became unshakable. He understood that his pain came from the friction of his own struggle, not from the temperature of the room. He was no longer a solid stone. He was the bell, hollow and resonant. The noise of the world could pass through him, vibrating his edges without moving his core. This is the secret of the internal void. You are the sky, and your feelings, the insults, the stress, the stones of others, are merely clouds passing through your vastness. Looking into the basin, the oil was now a perfect, unwavering mirror. He didn't see a desperate man. He saw a face of quiet authority. Kalen whispered the final truth. Silence is the king's armor. Reaction is the servant's chain. To carry this power, you must use the void ritual, a 5-second mental gap before any interaction where you visualize your impulses dropping into a cool, dark void. But while this 5-second gap is the difference between a king and a servant, there is a reason most people fail to maintain it after the video ends. A hidden weight that pulls them back into their old reactive patterns. To cut that final chain, you need more than a ritual. You need the full blueprint of what Adrian found next. As the sun crested the horizon, painting the foundry in pale light, Adrian set the basin down with a steady hand, the surface of the oil remaining as flat as a mountain lake. He stepped back into the world, no longer a servant to his impulses, but a sovereign of his own inner fortress. But the truth is, the world will never stop trying to turn up the heat around you. There will always be another insult or another moment of chaos designed to make you spill your golden oil. Many of the stories you hear here aren't just stories. They reflect the invisible weight you may be carrying every day. The same weight that made Adrian's shoulders slump and his soul feel hollow. If you're tired of holding pain, responsibility, and guilt that were never yours, I created a way for you to undergo your own ritual of transformation. I've codified this wisdom into my ebook, The Weight of Stones That Are Not Yours. It's for those who, like Adrian, want to let go, set boundaries, and live with more lightness. But because I know that the internal void is a difficult art to master, I'm including 2 vital tools to ensure your oil never ripples again. Bonus 1. Learning to let go of the stones that are not yours. This is your guide to the cooling period of the soul, showing you exactly how to temper raw emotion into wisdom. Bonus 2. When saying no is an act of self-love, the ultimate shield for those who have been open books, teaching you to build a fortress that the world can no longer kick. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Don't let another day pass where you surrender your power on a silver platter. It's time to stop the leakage and reclaim your crown.